Why is Scrum like a soccer team? Well, it's because of the 3-5-3 formation. Let's take a look. The 3-5-3 formation in Scrum is a handy aide-memoire, a way to remember the stuff that's involved in the core Scrum framework, a useful checklist just in case you might be thinking, have I forgotten something? The Scrum framework has 3 roles, 5 events and 3 artifacts that comprise the framework itself. We have the 3 roles of the Scrum Master, the Product Owner and the Development Team Member, the 5 events of Sprint Planning, the Daily Scrum, the Sprint Review, the Sprint Retrospective and the Sprint itself. And we have the 3 artifacts, the Product Backlog, the Sprint Backlog and the Increment. Let's walk through these components of Scrum and see how they fit together and the rules that bind them. These components are basically what Scrum is and basically how Scrum works. The first role is the product owner. The product owner is a value maximizer. The product owner has the vision for the value of the product. How is this product going to delight our customers? How is this product going to succeed in the marketplace? They have the vision. The product owner is someone who is empowered to make decisions. Empirical evidence shows that projects or products where decisions can be made fast have a massively higher success rate than projects where decisions take 4 or 5 hours a day or so to make. So the product owner is one person who is empowered to make decisions. The product owner is not a committee because we need a rapid decision-making process. Next up, we have the role of the development team member. These are the people who do the work, the people who build the product. When we say development team member, we don't simply mean writing code. We don't simply mean a traditional developer. It is anyone who can contribute to the build of this project. Technical architects, document writers, testers, code writers, all of that. Scrum recognizes a flat structure. Everyone contributes and is the accountability of the team to deliver the final product. The development team are the guys who deliver that final product. So while the product owner is focusing on what to build, the development team members are focusing on how to build it. In other words, the product owner focuses on building the right stuff. The development team focus on building the stuff right. And the third role is the role of the Scrum Master. The Scrum Master is a coach. They are a facilitator. They are a mentor. They are the person that is there to help the team be the best team that they possibly can be. They're an impediment remover. To an extent, any impediment that the team can't solve themselves, the Scrum Master may choose to take on to help that team overcome the barriers that are stopping them from being even better. To that extent, the Scrum Master is a servant leader, which means the success of the Scrum Master is measured not by their own performance, but by the performance of their team. Those are the 3 roles in Scrum, the first part of the 3-5-3. Let's move on to the 5 events. Every event in the Scrum framework is an opportunity for empiricism. It is an opportunity to inspect and adapt something. The first event within the Scrum framework is Sprint Planning. Sprint Planning is an opportunity to inspect the product backlog and adapt the sprint backlog for the upcoming sprint. Sprint Planning is where the product owner, development team and Scrum Master collaborate to forecast what work they think they can get done within the next iteration. And the team will also come up with a sprint goal during sprint planning. This is a unifying direction, something that if the team achieve, then the sprint will be considered a success. It's designed to get the team pulling in the same direction, a common focus, a common goal to maximize collaboration. Next up, we have the Daily Scrum. The Daily Scrum is a planning event. It's a short 15-minute event designed to help the development team plan their work for the next 24 hours. It's an opportunity to inspect progress towards the sprint goal and adapt the sprint backlog in order to have the best chance of achieving that sprint goal. The third event in our 3-5-3 structure is the Sprint Review. The Sprint Review is an informal event designed to elicit feedback from our customers, from our stakeholders, to gather information about the done increment. It is an opportunity to inspect the increment and to adapt the product backlog accordingly, so that the team have a good idea of what to build next, what's going to maximize the value of our product in the marketplace. Based on where we are now, what should we be doing next? During the sprint review, we show our customers and stakeholders the work that we have done, the done increment, and we adapt our upcoming plan, that is, the product backlog, accordingly. Our fourth event is the sprint retrospective. This is the team's opportunity to inspect their ways of working, to inspect how they have been working as a team, and to adapt their ways of working accordingly, to improve, to constantly evolve, to iterate towards perfection. We start now and we get perfect later. The way we do that is by making small incremental improvements. It is the team's responsibility to continually improve. So one of the outcomes of the sprint retrospective is one concrete action for improvement, one experiment that the team will try during the next sprint, one experiment which the team will add to the upcoming sprint backlog to gather empirical evidence whether this will help them improve. And it's worth remembering, of course, the retrospective is not just for the development team. When we say team here, we mean the whole Scrum team. It is an opportunity for the product owner, development team, and Scrum Master to get together and to raise transparency about their ways of working. The final event in our 353 structure is the sprint itself. The sprint itself is a container for all other events within Scrum. The length of the sprint is effectively the length of our feedback loop. How long can we go working in a particular direction before we need to gather feedback from our customers? Now, ideally, we'll be gathering feedback along the way throughout the sprint. However, as a worst case scenario, the sprint length defines how long our feedback loop is before we show our customers our done increment and elicit some feedback about whether the direction we're on is good or perhaps needs some refinement. So those are our 5 events. Now let's take a look at the 3 artifacts within Scrum. The first of these is the product backlog. The product backlog is a continually evolving list of work, all the work that the team know that they need to do on their product. It is owned by the product owner. It represents the vision of the product. It represents where we are going, what we are doing next. Every item on the product backlog has a description, an order, a value, and an estimate. This raises transparency about where we are in terms of the delivery of our product and what the vision of our product is. The product backlog describes what our product is going to do to delight our customers, how we are going to get there, and what steps we are going to take to deliver that. Next up, we have the sprint backlog. The sprint backlog is owned by the development team, and it is all of the work that the development team feel they need to do in order to achieve the sprint goal. The sprint backlog raises transparency about progress towards the sprint goal. Again, it is ever evolving within the sprint as new work is uncovered, new work is added to the sprint backlog. It is owned by the development team, and it helps the development team manage their own work. The benefit of the sprint backlog is it makes work visible, it makes work transparent, and it makes progress towards the sprint goal visible and transparent. It allows the development team to see where they are now and inspect and adapt their plan accordingly to ensure that at the end of the sprint we have a potentially releasable done increment which meets the sprint goal. And finally, the final artifact in Scrum is the increment itself. This is a potentially releasable done increment of product. It comprises all of the work done in the current sprint plus the sum of all of the work done in all previous sprints. It raises transparency about where we are now. It allows us to gather feedback from our customers by showing them something they can use, something that works. A done increment raises transparency about where we are now and allows us to gather feedback about what to do next. It allows us to gather empirical evidence about what our customers want based on what they have seen right now. Without a done increment, we don't know where we are. So the importance of done within Scrum is reflected in the importance of the increment itself. By having a done increment, we are able to employ empiricism and inspect where we are, where we need to go next. So there we are, the 353 formation of Scrum. 3 roles: the product owner, the Scrum Master, the development team member. 5 events: sprint planning, the daily Scrum, the sprint review, the sprint retrospective, and the sprint itself. And 3 artifacts, the product backlog, the sprint backlog, and the increment. These are the components of Scrum. These work together to provide an opportunity to gather empirical evidence. Every event is a feedback loop. Every artifact raises transparency. Every role guides the progress towards the sprint goal and the overall product vision for the company. So there we go. When you're thinking about Scrum, feel free to use the 3-5-3 rule as a quick checklist of what things are in there. What are we doing right now? What are we inspecting? What are we adapting? What is our goal? What are we trying to achieve? Somewhere in the 3-5-3 components will be the thing that you are looking for. If you found this video useful, please go ahead, click that little like button, click that little subscribe button. We have practical tips here for how to make Scrum work for you, and I will see you on the next one.